Coming to you live from the On Air Media Studios here in Dallas, Texas. Welcome to Soundbites with Susan and Waylon, where we take a short extraction of our daily lives as publicists to share with our audience here in the Big D and beyond. We are your hosts, Waylon Tate with J. Waylon and Associates PR.
And I'm Susan Friedman of Friedman Marketing and Public Relations. Thanks so much for being here and watching us today.
Yes, take two, and welcome to season 2, right?
2018.
This is amazing.
Happy New Year.
Likewise, Susan. It's, I don't know about you, but I feel like this energy, it's kind of like we're entering the new year, right?
Yes.
And it's always like pressing the reset button, I think, whenever you get to, particularly to the kind of the work that we do and the clients that we get to work with.
Right.
It's like fresh new beginnings.
It is
right?
a totally fresh new beginning. We have a whole new editorial campaigns and
all kinds of fun,
yes.
exciting stuff. And really on a personal level, too. I think we get to, we've wrapped all of the campaigns from last year. We get to take a couple of hours, maybe a day, to like breathe and decompress before we go full back into our work. What did you do for New Year's?
I had a wonderful evening with my husband. We managed to stay up past midnight and have a champagne toast with Dick Clark's New Year's Eve on television, and we watched the ball drop and everyone freeze in the cold New York weather. Even they showed clips from people in New Orleans, and it seemed like the weather was pretty cold there too. So.
Yeah, it is. In fact, you were telling me before the show started that there are actually people in Times Square that will diaper up.
Yes,
because
so
they can't go to the restroom.
They were explaining that people arrive as early as like 7 in the morning to stand in lines and to be able to attend the ball drop, and there's no ins or outs. So it's custom for people to actually wear diapers because once you secure a space, you don't want to move.
I just can't imagine. I mean, would you? I just can't. No. I mean, it's not worth it. I'm not doing it. You're like getting me in a diaper. It's not going to happen.
They looked cold. They looked really cold. It's probably not how I would want to spend the last day of the year.
No.
And I wouldn't want to celebrate that way personally, but I'm glad that there's a lot of people who do, and they were having a good time.
They were having a good time.
That's great.
I was cold. I was not in New York, but I was just at a local
You had a
night
cold.
spot. Yes, I had a cold. I got a cold because I was standing outside, but not in New York. But we just went through a crazy kind of cold spell here in Dallas.
Yeah.
And which launched this. Crazy congestion that I have, but I'm on the other side of the fence now and kind of coming down from it. But it's good because I think New Year's is a time that we really are able to kind of let go of kind of a lot of differences, and I'm speaking kind of on a grander level, to where everybody just really wants to celebrate and welcome in this new year with a new spirit and kind of a renewed hope for whatever may come that year. So,
I agree
I'm happy
with you. And we're actually going to expand on that topic later on with our guest, which
I know,
we'll
I'm so
announce
excited.
shortly.
Yes, I'm so excited. So what else is going on, Susan? I'll tell you, like I would be remiss if we didn't take a few moments to share kind of, what has happened in the past couple of weeks before we move into what's going to happen in a couple of weeks. But have you been, before the end of the year, we talked a little bit about you wrapping up some of your events. And you told me again before the show that you've gotten some new things coming on board and some upcoming stuff, right?
Right. Oh, so some of the things that, the 2018 year is quickly, it's here, and we have a lot of events going on. So just one of the things that we're doing for work, and I'm really excited about this. Dr. Ivan Saldana is coming into Dallas, and he's one of my clients, and he is the creator of Montelobos Mezcal. Why I'm so excited about this, besides he is legendary within the industry, but he's actually bringing in 2 mezcals that are not even available in Texas yet for tasting. So it's going to be this Tuesday, if you have time. It's this Tuesday. It's starting at 5 p.m. It's complimentary, and it is at Las Almas Rotas. I actually talked about it in a previous episode, a little mezcal bar that is near Fair Park. And so 5 o'clock this Tuesday, we'll have complimentary light bites, Montelobos mezcals, and you get to try, before anyone else, these 2 mezcals from Mexico.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, and I still have yet to try any, so maybe this would be a great opportunity
Yes,
for me to do
I
that.
know. I need to bring
and maybe
a
we could do a live
bottle.
remote
I
from the
know.
space and give some really good promotion
Yes.
to to Dr. Saldana's.
Yes. I was also reading, I think this is going to be amazing. It's this Thursday, and it's at the Dallas Contemporary. Again, a free event from 6 to 7 o'clock. And it's a chit-chat with fashion designer Mary Katranzu. And I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. But she is very well known for these extreme pop culture prints and amazing designs and styles. And she's collaborated with tons of huge names, Adidas, Disney, Top Knot, different designs. And she's a London-based designer, but she is going to do her first museum exhibit here in Dallas at the Dallas Contemporary, which I think is amazing. That's a world-renowned event.
Yeah.
So her show isn't actually going to be available until I think it's this Saturday, but she's going to be here just talking, and it's free to the public, and it's such a wonderful opportunity. So that's this Thursday.
Okay.
Plan to go there. And then, of course, I talked about Montelobos Mezcal. You have a bunch of spirits clients as well, and it is the San Antonio Cocktail Conference, one of the largest cocktail conferences in the country, and it is this weekend. So if you are planning to go to San Antonio, or if anybody is watching in San Antonio, go to some of these events. There's seminars, tons of parties, tastings. You have it. It's the 10th through the 14th, I believe, Wednesday through Sunday.
Okay.
And definitely go check it out. I am sending my assistant, Anna Davis. She has tons of bottles. I don't know, do we have a picture of that, Jansen? Jansen is our producer. Hopefully you'll see him sometime. Maybe he'll pop in. But I've been prepping for it all weekend, and I have a whole kitchen table full of bottles.
There it is.
This is behind the scenes of, we have secured 4 television segments and tons of interviews, and so we have to purchase all the bottles in advance, get the glassware. This is just stage 1 of what we're trying to gather to go.
It is
to
no
this
small
conference.
feat. It is no small feat.
No, it takes hours, and people don't realize how much time is invested just to set up all of these. So that's why some things are just this week.
And you know what? It's so funny because I've obviously known about this conference that takes place in San Antonio. It's a pretty
huge.
big event.
Yeah, people come from around the country.
But for some reason, I didn't know it was open to the public. So actually, thank you for mentioning that, because I have a lot of friends who particularly like to drink that live in San Antonio.
So
this
go
may
to
be a good
San
opportunity
Antonio
for them.
Cocktail Conference, and tickets are available. You have to purchase tickets. It's one of those that's not free. But yeah, check it out. See what's still available, because it does sell out pretty quickly.
Okay.
It's very well known. So yeah.
And it is open from, when did you say, Wednesday through Sunday, you believe?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're going to go ahead and go to our break. Speaking of spirits, right? We'll go to our commercial break with Crudo Vodka now, so we can bring
Cheers
on our
to Crudo
amazing,
Vodka.
cheers to Crudo Vodka, so that way we can have a lot more time to spend with our special guest. So stay tuned, and in about 40 seconds, we'll be back with our special guest.
Testing, testing. Harriet Kelly Gibbe. Let me know if you can hear me. We're good? Okay.
We're back.
And we're back.
Yes, so here's our guest. I actually met, this is Harriet Kelly Gibbe, and she is leadership, presentation, brand imaging, everything. I met you maybe 10 years ago.
Longer ago than that.
Oh
You
my
modeled in a
gosh.
fashion show. We did
Yes.
together at Tootsie's.
Yes, I
and
was
I've
saying
been
it
a
was
huge
with
fan.
Women in Communication
Yes,
and
yes.
Association for Women in Communication,
Yes.
and you were giving us a presentation. And I was honored to be one of your models to show the different types of looks that we could exude, you know?
No, I love that.
Yes,
Yeah,
and you
and in
looked
fact, I
amazing.
bought that outfit. I remember I
yes.
bought the outfit afterwards, and I still have it today, and I still wear it. So it was a
You have
keeper.
a great style.
She does that everywhere we go. We
Yeah.
did. We were invited to an event at S.I. Zennebor's showroom, and you bought like 3 outfits that night, right? So,
I'm a sucker. Yes, but I
you
still
have
wear them. I love it.
Great
Yes,
style.
yes,
So it attracts you, and you're attracted to it. So it's
yes.
a good partnership.
and
Yeah, she
she's
did a
like
great
the
job.
perfect like sample size,
She
right?
is.
Like,
I wish.
Yeah.
She is. No,
Thank
she
you.
is. She is.
Wonderful.
Totally.
Well, we were actually just talking about New Year's and how it's a time to renew yourself, new year, new you, whether it's personal, professional. And we're like, you are the perfect spokesperson for this.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Yes,
you. Well, I've
and-
spent years studying the scientific information behind presentation and what people perceive as attractive and not attractive and powerful. And I think right now, okay, did you guys watch the Golden Globes last night?
yes, I said, before the show started, I said, Susan, please make sure that we have enough room to talk, because it was such an homage to women.
Yes.
That and I'm like a huge feminist, you don't know that yet, but
Me too.
Oh, good. Then we're in similar company. But I was honestly amazed. Not just, everybody's talking about Oprah's speech, which was incredible. I come from a world of politics. That was absolutely her introduction to 2020. I can tell you that for sure.
Yes.
But the
yes,
fact
yes.
that there was this just kind of overarching theme of we're done in Hollywood with this male power play type of casting couch environment, and it literally you could feel the energy even if you weren't in the room.
Yeah.
And I had friends that were in the room, and it was I was so. What were your first thoughts? Like I have to know from your perspective.
Well, I've been coaching women and men actually for years. I teach at Hockaday in the summer, so and I have international students in the summer.
Okay.
So
Wow.
I've been doing this for 6 years, just at Hockaday and then through adults. So I go through the whole spectrum of coaching and training and kind of developing the next layer, the next generation of leaders.
Okay.
In addition to improving leadership skills and what people perceive as power in women and men.
Okay.
My specialty tends to be women, just because I have 30 years in the fashion industry as a model and producer, fashion show producer and stylist. So I've been watching the sea change happening, the tidal wave of change, and I'm so grateful that it's here. Because our perception of power has always been identified with the way men express power. And by men, I mean white men.
Right.
And there's a look, and we all perceive, as a culture, we perceive that as power. And what's needed to change is how we perceive what power looks like.
That's right.
Yeah.
And power right now is about connecting and feeling our oneness as a community. And
I love
It's
that.
almost the definition of power has changed with social media.
yes, yes.
And
Yes.
empowered.
Yeah.
And empowered. And how we can look, how a person looks and projects how he or she will connect, what their message is, because the medium is the message. However you look, that is your message. How you feel about yourself, the thoughts you have about yourself, the thoughts you have about the people you're sharing
Yeah.
this
That's
space
right.
with.
That's right.
That is what creates the change, and that's what we saw last night
Right.
at the Golden Globes.
She didn't mention this last night, but Oprah, who I just adore and I follow, it's funny because my friends say that I pray to Oprah every night.
You're not the only one.
But she said before, and it really kind of speaks to what we do, and obviously you have a background in film, television, and radio. So Oprah, I remember in an interview saying, in 25 years, the greatest thing that I learned after interviewing all of those people is that everybody just wants to be heard. They want to know,
And seen.
do you hear me? And
That's
does what I
beautiful.
say mean something to you?
Do you see me? Do you
Yeah.
hear me? Yes. Yes.
And let me tell you, we heard her loud and clear last
Yeah,
night.
she was so powerful. That's the face of power now. That's what power is beginning to look like. I have several political candidates that I'm styling and coaching in their campaigns right now, and they're women. And as I'm styling them for their appearances, we're in the middle of a huge change of how do you communicate what your message is, what you want people to know, why you're doing this, because there's nothing harder right now, I think, than being in politics, as
Oh.
a man
No.
or a woman. And
Waylon has a
I have a master's in social domestic
yeah, and
policy.
his,
really?
Yeah.
yes, and he
wow.
I had a
works
lot of-
quite a bit in politics. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So
I had
you
really
guys
good
have a
teachers.
lot.
We'll
yeah.
talk. We'll talk. Yes. If you stalk my Facebook page, you'll see I have. I was so blessed to have a great relationship with the Obama administration.
What did you
and
do
so
with
I
the
was
Obama administration?
well, one of my best friends was the social secretary's office. So I was invited many times. I met them many times, and it was one of those real moments. I don't know if you ever watched the show called The West Wing, but there was this amazing scene on The West Wing where Donna, who's an assistant, is in the Oval Office with the president, and she calls her high school teacher and says, "I'm standing in front of the president because of you." And I actually had an opportunity. I was in, I believe it was the state dining room, and Obama is like 20 feet from me, and I called my high school debate coach. Yes, I did. I called her, and I had called her before and said I'm going to do this because I really wanted her to experience it with me. And she just passed away two months ago. But I had a moment to call her and say, thank you for giving me a voice. Right? Yeah. I was the timid young boy that I was. I cannot get on stage, Mrs. Green. And she said, yes, you can, and you're going to. And so, speaking a little bit kind of to my love and appreciation for powerful women, it may have even started then, right? Because this incredibly powerful, dynamic woman really believed in me more than I believed in myself, right? And so, every opportunity I get, I'm on the front lines of making sure that women are not just heard and seen, but are the movers and shakers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
There's a book by James Hillman called The Soul's Code, and in that book, he talks about how people are coded for different kinds of success from the time they're born. For instance, Winston Churchill, he talks about Winston Churchill in the book, how Winston Churchill had a stutter and hid behind his mother's apron strings and was considered a wimp. And he said, but who knew that he was shoring up his courage for one day his voice would lead the world against the greatest Nazi and danger to humanity that we'd ever seen. So you were coded for something, and frequently teachers are the ones that recognize that. There's just something about those of us that like coaching and teaching that you can just see something in somebody, and it just lights you up. And you don't, your energy is attracted to each other. It's
That's
like,
right.
what can I do to help this move out into the world and take its place and do its job?
It's so interesting that she says that because I can actually see this from both perspectives. I teach an adjunct federal government class, and I make it a point during my class every single week to actively call on women in my class because I want them to have a voice. And it's uncomfortable at the time, and students never like to be called on. You know that, obviously, from teaching. But I do it on purpose because I think once you're given a platform, that's really what I do. Is I define that for the next 12 weeks in this class, the women in this room will have a platform to say whatever is on your mind. It's really important to me.
And such a huge difference. Such a huge difference. And it's those little moments, which leads into talking about New Year, New You, things that we can do, little things that we can do. But those moments where women see each other stepping up. I've been obsessed with The Crown between Christmas and New Year's. I was just obsessed with The Crown, and I realized it's because, for me, here was a woman who was not trained to do this. Her father was thrown into it, and then she was thrown into it during an incredibly challenging time in world history, and she just stepped up, and she stepped up, and she stepped up, and she stepped up, and she had no choice except this sense of being born for this that she never knew she was going to be. Again, people are coded. They have a mission that's within them. And when they're presented with challenges, that mission is revealed. And their energy to tackle that challenge and to step up and step up and step up. And here she is in her 90s now.
Yes.
And watching this woman lead the way
and
that
she continues to step up. I mean, some of the decisions that she made in the past, she's adapted to current times.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to see.
And sometimes somebody's had to kick that door open for her, but she has done
and
it.
she's also known when to step down and let others take charge and delegate.
Yeah, and that's a uniquely female, I think, trait, is the way she so quietly, she decided her path was to be quiet. And let people that she thought knew more than she did step up. And that's kind of a female trait that we frequently won't share what our truth is. Did you hear that? You heard that over and over and over again last night with the women that spoke. Speak up. Say what it is you have. What is your mission? What are you here to do? What do you see as your truth? And claim it as your truth and share it because the world needs it. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So for people who are watching, and they're like, you're right on target. Do you have any advice or tips that people can do right now if they're like, you know, I do want to start off fresh. I do want to start off new. How do you even go through the process? Like, what is the first thing you have to ask yourself?
Like, what do you feel like you're here to do? What do you feel like you are here to do? And some of us that have been looking at this for a while have an inkling, have an idea.
Right.
Some people don't.
I think that's the hardest part, is finding out where to start.
Yes, and so my secret that I've
Yes.
always shared with people is, what do you love to do? When does time slip away? When you're doing something and you have no idea what
that's
time
a
it
good
is,
That is a
question.
really good question.
that's your zone, because you drop out of time. Time no longer exists. You're in a different space, and that's part of what your mission is. That's part of what your purpose is. So that happens to me when I'm writing.
Okay.
And it's something I rarely will do now, because I've got so many different things that I'm doing. I'm starting to write more now because I know this is a zone. But it takes me, I mean, like, I'll sit down, I have a meeting in
So
an
you're
hour.
an author. What are you writing now?
Oh, I just write on my blog, and I write for my clients, and I write articles, and you can find them on harrietkellygibbe.com.
We'll give
they're
you
on
tons of plugs
sleep.
after the show, don't worry.
So I'm writing a lot about sleep right now, because the science is telling us that we are such a sleep-deprived country.
I hear that one.
And it's really a problem, because it's not something you can catch up on, which is the way I was trained to believe.
Right.
That I was trained to believe that if I was sleeping, I was lazy. If I was sleeping, I was not getting out there and making things happen. So I've got this whole belief system that I've had to slowly but surely reprogram based on the science that I'm reading over and over and over. And it's getting very significant, because there's
remember
so
reading,
much information bombarding our brains can't reset without sleep.
That's true. And another powerful woman, Ariana Huffington, has a very strong approach and opinion about sleep deprivation, and kind of this need to, like, you know, press the reset button, right? And on continuum, you know, to get a lot of sleep.
Talk
because you
about
can
a
only be
woman
your
who
best.
does so much.
Oh my goodness.
God.
I don't
And
know
she
how.
just knocked herself out. She was working at her desk in the
Yeah.
middle of the night, and she passed out. She knocked herself out.
Oh my
gave herself
gosh.
a concussion from lack of sleep.
So
And
are
that's
you
when she said
supposed to
nothing.
get a certain amount? Doesn't each
Yeah.
person need a different amount of sleep, though?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
So basically, the science says 7 to 8 hours a night. And
That's a luxury.
yeah, it's not a
thinking-
luxury anymore, though. That's not a luxury anymore.
Yeah.
It feels like it is for those of us that are doing a lot, but the cognitive decline that comes from lack of sleep is fairly significant, they've discovered. So 7 to 8 hours. And
Okay.
the other thing that I'm going to recommend for the new year is that you add meditation and journaling to your day, if you're not already
That's one of my
participating in a
resolutions,
meditation
was actually
process.
to start a gratitude journal. It
Yes.
wasn't going to be so much a diary of what I've done in the past and all that.
That's
it was going
perfect.
to be a gratitude journal. Very
Perfect.
short and sweet.
It changes your internal conversation when you write about what you're grateful for, and you get it out of your head and you get it. So the science tells us that when you write on paper anything that you're ruminating about, like you
Okay.
know how you have
Yeah.
this hamster wheel
Yeah.
in your head and you're just like,
Yeah.
it's not going to get any better with your thinking about it. What they've discovered is when you write it down on paper, your brain detaches from it, and you can now look at it separate from you and notice that that might not be as significant as your mind is telling you it is at that moment.
That is a really.
Oh, wow.
So journaling, gratitude journaling, and putting everything down on paper, I call it the POP journal. Put
Okay.
it on paper. It belongs on paper. It doesn't belong in your head.
Right.
It belongs on paper. Get it down on paper, detach from it, and your brain will let it go once it knows, your mind, I will say, will let it go once it knows it's on paper. So you're free then to go on and do whatever
Oh,
you
that's
need to do.
interesting. I never heard of that.
So
Okay.
gratitude, and put all of your frustrations, fears, angers, resentments, put them on paper and just leave them there.
So
Yeah, and
sleep
don't throw 'em
more,
away.
gratitude journal. Wait, and
Yeah.
did you have one more?
Yeah, meditation.
Meditation.
Meditation. So there are some great apps for people that are new meditation, and that's, again, proven over and over and over and over again for mental,
Apps?
physical, spiritual, and
Like
emotional
phone
health.
apps?
Yes, phone apps. Headspace.
What?
Yes, HEAD. Headspace is
I
a
need to check this
great
out.
one.
Yeah.
And
Are you
10%
familiar
happier.
with it?
Two of
10%.
I'm
them.
not.
There are two of them that I
Is that a
recommend.
book
10% happier. I don't.
by a journalist?
Yes. Yes.
I read that book.
Did
It is
you read that?
amazing. It
Yes.
is so good.
Oh, he's amazing.
Wow.
And both
okay,
of
so
them.
he has
I
an
use
app.
both.
I need to check it out.
Yes, and they're multiple moments, you know, like 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minutes. So
Okay.
anything you do to start meditating this year, make it fun. That's the secret too, is we've got so many things that feel so serious, and with the world changing as quickly as it is, and the amount of information that we're trying to
Right.
download so we feel like we're aware of what's going on, we've got to find things that are more fun. So Headspace is so calming and soothing, and 10% Happier is just fun. So I recommend both of those apps for
Great.
your phone.
And read the book.
And read the
10%.
book.
It's a fun book. It's
Yes.
a biography about.
I haven't read it, but I
It is
saw
amazing,
his. He
and
has
I
his,
recommend
a
it.
short documentary on his why he started meditating.
Yeah.
Because he was so stressed out from being a journalist, and he
Yes.
froze up on the air.
Yes.
Like
did.
literally froze
Literally
up?
froze. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I mean,
just
that's
blanked
You need
out.
to read this book just from a PR standpoint
Yeah.
and understanding journalism and what they go through. Some of the reporters, investigative reporters. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have
It's
to
really
check that
good.
out for sure. It's and I think there's a lot of misnomer really about what meditation is, right? It's not. It's much more of a kind of calming, coming to peace with yourself, right? It's like absolute resolve and getting through the white noise and kind of again finding that balance inside of yourself, right?
Yes.
It's not. I think people want to attach meditation to like a religious activity, and
Oh, gosh, no.
in to some people that may be so, but it's not. It's grounding yourself, right, and kind of returning to who you are.
And it's another way to let your soul, let your inner self lead. Because what happens, and Headspace does a great little animated thing on this, where pretend that you're sitting on the side of the road and there are cars driving down the road, and you're just watching the cars. So those cars are your thoughts.
Okay.
And if you get off the side of the road of just watching the cars go by and jump on one of those thoughts, you're gone. It's hard to get yourself back. So what meditation, one of the things that it does for us is it teaches us not to get carried away with our own thinking. Don't believe
I
our
was
own
going to say,
thoughts.
I've tried meditating. I have the hardest time with it because my mind is in circles, and I'm like, I should be doing this. Why am I sitting here meditating, like trying to?
And that's okay.
It is
Just
tough.
do it.
It is really
and
hard.
Headspace and 10% Happier both help you just go through the process of it, because everything is a baby step process. I grew up at a time when everything was supposed to be big, and I'm in a very glamorous industry, and
Yeah.
everything's supposed to be grand and glamorous and beautiful and the best and perfect. And so we miss the small changes that really change our lives. And so just meditating for a minute, you'll feel, if you check in with
Yeah.
yourself, you'll feel the difference. Meditate. The first time I meditated was 2 minutes, and I was aware I couldn't keep my mind still for 2 minutes.
Right.
And now they're saying you don't need to worry about keeping your mind still. With these meditation apps, just listen. They'll take you through the process, and you'll breathe easier.
I'm
And breath
I'm
makes
definitely
all the
doing that.
difference.
No,
Yeah.
I'm excited to read that book as well.
Yeah.
If I have it, I'll bring it for you.
Okay, that'd be
So
great.
meditation, journaling, exercise.
Excellent.
Any exercise you do. Any exercise you do, if it's a minute, if it's 2 minutes, it's 5 minutes, it changes your body chemistry and your brain chemistry. So, and then
I
sleep
agree.
more, eat less.
Sleep more, eat
Now,
less.
You probably don't eat anything, Susan. I've seen you
Guilty.
naked, girl. You are thin.
We'll save that for another.
That was a long time ago too. But yeah. So.
But, and for most people, there aren't that many people that eat for hunger. Most people in our country eat because we have anxiety, or we're frustrated, we only have a minute, we grab, we're in a hurry.
That's right.
There's so many reasons that we eat, but very few of those reasons have to do with hunger, which is why weight loss and health are so difficult to tackle with nutrition alone. So exercise helps you regulate your breathing, your body chemistry, your brain chemistry. Journaling gets all that worry down on the paper.
Right.
The gratitude list makes you truly grateful. You can't be upset and grateful at
This
the
is a
same time.
wonderful list.
It is.
And then you'll eat less. And if you just eat less, like right now, I'm just eating 1 meal a day. That might sound crazy, but I just noticed I feel better when I'm not eating and not having to worry about what I eat.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, how many times a day do you sit down and go,
Oh my
it's
gosh, what am I gonna?
the type of a dieter is this?
Yeah.
Whatever the different diet, I've done so many, as we all have over the years. It just, your mind spends so much time trying to figure out what it's going to eat and getting excited about what it's going to eat, or
I'm
being
kind of
sad about what
speechless
it's not
about
gonna
like
eat.
eating less. I'm like, oh. I love eating. It's it makes me
Well,
happy.
and I do
You
too.
said when you lose time, it's when I'm eating. I'm like, just sitting there. I do.
Yeah.
I love to eat. So.
I do too. And so, like yesterday, I was
But portion control, totally.
Yeah.
portion control. Yeah, but
Or eating less, like you
just
mean
eat
not
less.
eat
Just
less.
eat less. Just eat less, and know why you're eating. So if you eat more because you're having anxiety, you're upset, that's okay. Just make yourself aware of it and journal it out. When you journal out your feelings before you eat, you'll eat less. If you sit down and write whatever's on your mind, you're putting it on paper, it's not in your mind. Our minds play games on us all the time and convince us of things that are not true. And having a network of friends that you can really share time with makes a huge difference in your mental, spiritual, and physical health. So the Girl Tribe last night.
Yes, love it.
Yeah, I mean, that was another form of, that's how women lead. We hold hands. Women's brains are wired to connect. Men's brains are wired to be individual.
Yeah.
So they tend to step out, even whether they have the leadership skills or not, they'll still usually step forward and go, okay, I'll do it. I can do it. I can be president. Whether I've got any training for this job or not, I think I can be president. And women are like, well, I don't know if I'm really educated, or am I smart enough? And what helps women lead is to hold hands. Figuratively, metaphorically, hold hands with each other,
That's right.
with all of our friends. Surround ourselves with our team and our tribe. It does not make you weak. It makes you strong, and it makes you happier.
That's
One of
right.
the things that's going on with social media is people are depriving themselves of the connection that we're sharing, for instance,
Absolutely.
right now. And I kind of am worried that the kids aren't building social skills because interacting with people is a lot of work.
It is.
And if you didn't grow up doing it, if you grew up, texting on your phone to connect, it makes it a little less, you have less muscle, if you will, to connect and engage and
So
listen and speak
And be
That's
present.
wonderful.
and be present.
Present.
Yes, and all of these things
Yes.
that we just listed are all about being present to your life, to your friends, to your loves, to your mission, to your
yourself.
purpose, to
It's
yourself.
good. Well, you have tons
Yourself.
of great advice. If our listeners want to find out more, they go to
HarrietKellyGibbe.com. So it's HarrietKellyGibbe.com.
And you're on social media. You're on Facebook,
Twitter, Facebook,
And we'll share all of
Instagram.
that on our social media so
Thank
the
you.
audience can reach
Yes.
out to you.
Thank
Harriet,
you.
thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you
We
for
really
having me.
appreciate it.
So much fun to see you.
I know. We'll catch up
Yes.
after the show.
And Waylon, you and I have so much in common.
I know.
We have to
We're
talk.
going to
We're gonna
absolutely.
talk.
We are going to talk. We are going to talk. So thank you again, Harriet, for
Thank
being
you.
here, and thank you, Critical Launch, for being one of our sponsors and for creating our wonderful website that you can now check out at SusanandWaylon.com. We'll share that on social media as well,
And also eQuest, which provides horse therapy for people with special needs. If one of your resolutions is to do any volunteerism, they actually are having a volunteer day coming up.
Great
So
organization.
equest.org.
Thank you. Perfect. So until next week, we bid you a fantastic and productive week. Get more sleep, and we'll see you next Monday.